Spoiler alert, he's still here. Please welcome Kevin Barclay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Frank King. You'll hear from him later. How do you like starting a show like that, a comedy show, right? A couple of years ago we did that, and it always brings me to tears. You know, because it's something that's so real. And I have to say that I can raise my hand, and I have issues. You know, this day, this time, things that are happening, it's so real, right? Is anybody having a normal life right now? Just about anxiety, you know, it's one of those weird things, like when I have a conversation with somebody, I can remember almost in detail what they say, unless I'm talking to my wife, and then I forget everything. And everything she tells me, and she's out there somewhere, I don't know. But I have to tell you, it's not normal out here right now. I want to ask you to do something here in a minute, and it might feel a little uncomfortable. But when I put my hand out, I want you to join me if you feel anxious, if you are depressed, if you are in a place that you're uncertain of what the future holds, if you feel like there's no hope. I want you to raise your hand with me. Not stand up. I'm not going to call on you, point at you, or anything else like that. But even if you're a little depressed, you had a bad day. What I want to do is try to ease the stigma of talking about mental health. I know I have issues, and if you have any questions, you can ask my wife. She'll tell you. But seriously, us men have a hard time talking about the problems that we have. I want to go on record right now that, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be in a place where you don't feel comfortable. It's okay if you have a bad day, if you're depressed or anxious or you're overwhelmed. It's okay. So raise your hand with me. Put your hands up if you're in the crowd and if you have something going on that's giving you a hard time. Anybody? So, no, I just, you have a question? It's okay to not be okay. So be real with that. And when somebody asks you how you're doing, go ahead and let them know. You know, it's funny, the other day, somebody asked, hey, how are you? I said, oh, I feel like shit. He says, great, so do I. At NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, we are here for you. We have 3 programs, and there are amazing family support. Leslie Kent will probably be here roaming around. She's our program directors. All of them are free of charge. NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness in Western Slope, has been here near 3 decades, and it's hard because not a lot of people here that know that we're here. Now you guys know. Thank you so much for coming, and we have a great show planned for you.
Kevin?
Just a minute.
Hello? Hi, my name's Adam, and I'm Kevin's son. And the reason why I'm up here is because almost every day at home I have to tell my dad, not funny, Dad, not funny. And I have a twin sister named Ruby Jean, but she's at dance, and she's a ballerina. So while I'm here talking to you guys, she's going to be doing this. So, I went shoe shopping with my dad, and he stepped on my foot. So I yelled, "You just stepped on my foot with 311 pounds!" And then he said, "Well, great, Abby, now tell everybody how old I am." And I said, "He's 62! And 62, you're like, well, Adam, that seems a little bit old. But the benefit of that is he takes a lot of naps. So I get to play video games until he wakes up. I have one question for you. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because he was going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, duh. And here's Mona. I want you to get loose today.
Y'all act like you didn't used to go to the club, but I know you did. Some of you I remember. Are you ready for a good time tonight? So I have to wear readers now because since we were here last, I think that was 2 years ago, I've aged. So now I have to wear readers, but we were laughing back there because I told my age, right? So if I say something and you're going to respond to me, we're going to know how old you are. Are you ready? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Told you, this whole audience is old as me. Oh, are you ready for the first comedian, you guys? I'm so excited. You guys are still laughing. I need to do my thing here. Focus on me. I'm so excited about our very first comedian. It's kind of interesting though, because he said his short, stubby fingers prevented success as a piano player. And his mind wanders too much to be a writer. That's me, squirrel. Now he's been in Grand Junction for 4 years as medical director at West Springs Hospital. Okay, let me say that line again, and then you guys go, okay? So now he's been in Grand Junction for 4 years as a medical, not yet. Who did that? You're gonna wait out in the hall until we finish. I'm watching you the rest of the night. Okay. He's been in Grand Junction for 4 years as a medical director at West Springs Hospital. Yeah! After being in Pittsburgh for 20 years. Go Steelers! I want to welcome to the stage. I'm going to say your name right. Dr. Lotrick. Did I say it right? Yeah! Come on and give it up for Dr. Lotrick.
Let me just say that, sorry guys. And I also have to give my apologies to Kevin because I'm so nervous about doing this. I've never done this before. And I stepped on his foot and he noticed a little bit of a limp. I have broken it, so apologies Kevin. I actually enjoy lecturing and I give lectures. I've given lectures in the past. I have never done comedy. So the third apology goes to you guys. Because I don't have anything funny to say, really. I decided I would use my time to lecture you about stigma. But before I did that, I agreed to at least tell one joke. So my joke is, and it's one that I didn't write, it's an old one. How do you hide a $100 bill from a psychiatrist? I'm a psychiatrist. It's pretty easy. You tape it to a stethoscope. No one thinks we're real doctors, okay? The worst part about that joke is it's actually true. I don't even know what a stethoscope is anymore. By the way, there's a whole load of these how do you hide a $100 bill jokes that go around the doctor set. You know, how do you hide a $100 bill from a radiologist? You tape it to the patient. How do you hide a $100 bill from the orthopedic surgeon? You tape it to their spouse. Yeah, there's a whole load of this. But getting back to me now, and stigma, you know, that whole notion of losing the stethoscope and not being a real doctor. When I went to medical school, I really wanted to be a brain doctor. That was what I was going to study to be. And it really alarmed me when I discovered that the people who study the brain and pharmacology and neuroanatomy are psychiatrists. That just blew my mind. I grew up thinking that psychiatry was Frasier on Cheers. And these kind of wacky people, that's the sort of common notion up there. And that's the societal stigma that I carried with me when I went to school. And it took a few decades for me to get rid of that, honestly. It was part of me. I still remember actually coming out to my mom that one day and being like, Mom, I'm a psychiatrist. Burst into tears, me, oh, I thought you were going to be a doctor. Very disappointing. By the way, this is proof that I am not a real comedian. I had to write this down. There's no way I can memorize these things, so I'm just going to read to you. It's actually not really good. You know, there's actually some decent psychiatrists on TV. I don't know how many of you remember MASH. Dr. Friedman. You know, and it was really surprising to me. I didn't even remember him when I was in medical school. There's some decent examples of psychiatrists on TV. And I'm actually just having an epiphany right now, standing here right on stage. That was an even more example of stigma, is that I couldn't even remember the good examples of psychiatrists when I was in school. And I know a lot of you know when I was getting there, and oh my God, you wouldn't watch this guy do psychoanalysis on himself. I can make it comment. But, you know, it's, after coming out to my parents, and you know, doing bad impressions of my mom, and again, I apologize to those of you saying, oh my God, he's doing bad impressions of his mom, for comedy. And that's not even a good Jeff Gaffigan sort of reference for those of you who does his little aside, so again, apologies. My talk is filled with apologies. You know, after coming out to my parents, then there's the whole next stage of life where you're at parties. And for those of you who aren't psychiatrists, I don't know if there's any of you out there who are not a psychiatrist, but the most common question you get asked in social settings is, so what is your job? And then you're forced to answer. And you can either lie, which I've done, or you can tell the truth. And finally, I've come to the point in my life where I say, yes, I'm a psychiatrist. And I've discovered that there's actually 3 versions of how people respond to that. There is the one version, which is, I call it the stare, where they just look at you, and then they look elsewhere, and they make eye contact with someone, and without saying a word, they just move on. The other version is the, oh, you should meet my family. That one's actually kind of fun. You get to talk with them about genetics and why they're the way that they are. Not so much their family. And then the third out of the 3 sort of versions, I call it the gut pour, which is really useful, by the way, because I am an introvert. And when you have someone just telling you their lives, which is usually kind of really interesting, it's also a really good excuse not to have to talk with anyone else in the audience or anyone else at the party. You just listen to the gut pour. So how do you hide a $100 bill from someone with schizophrenia? You put it in their pill bottle. And you can't blame them. Not wanting to take these medications. They have horrible side effects. We usually prescribe them in really complicated ways that you need an advanced degree to remember how to take. And finally, there's the real reason that people don't want to take the pills, right? You know, what is it? Stigma. And you know, the same thing that I suffered from. And when you have stigma, anything seems better than having something like major depression or bipolar or schizophrenia. I really have known people who would rather say, you know what, I have a traumatic brain injury that's destroyed half of my brain, rather than saying, yes, I've got schizophrenia. Or you'd rather have me saying, yes, one of my relatives has a drug and alcohol use. I don't think they actually have bipolar disorder. It's so filled with stigma. You would rather label them with all these other things than the actual illness that they have, which is really quite astounding to me. So how do you hide a $100 bill from a therapist? It's really easy. They've never seen one. Despite their intense training, years and years, they study how to talk to people, how to elicit good information, and how to weave that information into a curative narrative with the patient. They've done all of this study, but we train them a little bit, or we pay them a little bit worse than we do a McDonald's hamburger flipper. So shout out to all the therapists who might be in the audience. How do you hide a $100 bill from an insurance executive? You can't. Don't even try. I was actually at a hospital executive conference a couple of years ago, and it just blew my mind. I used to go to science conferences, and they had drugs for sale. There's always like reps trying to sell you something. You know what they sell at hospital executive conferences? Ways to bill people. It blew my mind, really. There was not a single thing on mental health. There was not a single thing on how to make mental health hospitals better. It was just strange. Real quick question. Whoa. A really quick question quiz for you. In an average ER, just medical ER, about what percentage of visits to ERs are for something directly related to mental health? If you were going to guess. You're kind of all a little bit right out there. You know, the lowest number I've ever heard is 10%, and it goes up from there. It's a huge number. You know, there's a lot of heart attacks and other stuff, but it's at least 10%, sometimes up to 40% of visits to ERs are mental health related. So what percentage of the space in in ERs, and what percentage of the staff is trained in mental health? It's not zero, but it's pretty less than 1%, and it's definitely not 10 to 40%. It's mind-bogglingly low. And so what could be the one and only explanation for why our society doesn't put any resources into building better buildings and training people to staff those buildings for the folks who are going to live there? Correct. It is completely stigma. You know, just to finish up here, I was trying to think of a good metaphor for stigma. And how many of you out there wear glasses or contact lenses? Imagine this. Imagine a world in which, you know, you get called four eyes because you wear glasses. And that kind of happens. But imagine it gets so bad that everyone refuses to wear those glasses because you don't want to be called a nearsighted or farsighted person. That's just because of this horrible stigmatic thing. So people stop wearing their glasses and they start wandering around and they're walking into things. And then next thing you know, 10% of ER visits are because people are walking into walls and driving without their glasses. And the neighbors are complaining because of those dang myopics out there driving around, causing problems and causing accidents. And not my neighborhood, dang it. And you look around for a glass shop and you can't find one because they simply don't exist out here in Grand Junction. And the number of ophthalmologists or optometrists that you would go see, there's maybe 3, but I think one of them moved and one of them's retiring possibly. There's not that many, and then next thing you know, Avalon's having this like event at which they discuss, wow, I wonder what we could do about the fact that there's not enough eyeglass doctors in the state, and all these people suffering from poor vision. And there's even treatments out there for this poor vision. Here, it's called like glasses or contacts. You know, there's laser shit. I don't know what it is. And imagine that world. It's crazy, right? It's completely mind-boggling. But we live in that world right now. And obviously, I hate stigma, and I can go on about it. But I wanted to finish out with the one word that I despise even more than stigma. And it kind of blows people's minds when I mention this word. And the word is issues. You know, an issue is something like when you have a wart on your hand and you squeeze and it issues out stuff. It's such a minimizing word, uniquely. No one goes into an ER with chest pain and they say, oh, you've got like some sort of heart issue. No, you're having a heart attack. It's an MI, myocardial infarction, and you get treated for it. Or you go with really severe back pain and say, oh, you got obstruction issues. No, you've got a kidney stone, and they do something about it. We use the word issues all the time. Oh, you've got issues, you've got depression issues, you've got suicide issues. No, they're not issues. It's a mental illness, and it's an illness that can be treated, and it should be addressed and treated like any other illness, and not trivialized by the word issues. So that's my lecture. Not funny, right? So don't ever hear me, hear you guys use the word issues ever again. You'll see my eyes roll. I wish I could recognize people's faces, but I can't. It's too bright up here. So I hear mostly safe, except for the front row. Sorry, guys. So if I could get your participation as I kind of walk off stage, I kind of always had this dream of leading a parade, you know, and some sort of strike or something. So we want to get rid of stigma. When do we want it? Now! We want to improve mental health parity. When do we want it? Now! We want $100 back. When do we want it? Now! Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. Come on and give him one more round of applause. That was awesome. Are you ready for Are you ready for more? Okay, this guy, I think he's. Who was that? I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna turn into Medea. No, I'm just kidding. So, I'm not sure, but listening to some of the backstage talk, and I'm not supposed to tell you guys, can y'all keep a secret? Okay. I think he's doing community service hours is why he's here, or something like that. So his probation officer, Lindsay, are you here? I think so, yeah. I don't know, give him extra credit or something. I don't know. This guy is a father of 2, but he only has 1 wife. Anyway, that didn't go over like I thought it would, but hey, it's good. I didn't write this. That's the funny part. So, just like his wedding night, he said he was here to have a good time. So I thought, let's talk to Lindsay about your wedding night. No, I'm kidding. Stand up and share with the class. No, I'm just kidding. Put your hands together, you guys, for Mr. Danny Compton.
She wasn't supposed to tell you about my parole officer. How you guys doing tonight? Good, good. So, you know, they say if you're in front of a crowd, you want to picture everybody in their underwear, right? To feel comfortable. Sorry, my mom's in the crowd. Nobody. There she is. You know, it's awesome to be up here to be able to share with you guys some cool things. We've been in the back cutting it up and just having a really good time. You guys have missed a lot of it. But it's awesome to be out here, you know, because with everything going on last year, you know, with that thing that happened, you know, some of my jokes are kind of like COVID. Most of you guys won't get it. I'm joking. But you laughed, so that's good. One of the things that I was asked was, you know, what would the name of my segment be called if I were to name it? It's called Not Worthy. Because I know a lot of us have a lot of things in life that we really want to do, but sometimes we just kind of fall to what other people kind of tell us we can do. And they let their fear project on us what our limitations are. And I want to share a quick story with you guys. So I just recently lost my dad last month. And we joked a lot about things. And sometimes my wife or nobody around us would get the jokes that we had, which was fun. But as in the later days, we were sitting there and I was sitting across from him and I was like, hey Dad, I got an opportunity to do some stand-up comedy. And he's sitting back in his chair, he's kind of listening to things. So he had cancer and stuff, so his body wasn't functioning properly. And he sits up and looks at me and he says, well, did you tell him no? I'm like, no, I actually told him yeah. He goes, well, what would you do that for? I'm like, well, I kind of always wanted to. And this has actually been something I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. Come up here and let people laugh at me. I mean, they do it in the store, they do it, you know, everywhere I go. But it's something I've always wanted to do. And I know people out there, you know, you guys have stuff in life you want to do, but other people project their fears of what they want to do on us. So it won't let us do what we want to do in life. Like being at the supermarket and asking elderly people if they want to race. My wife can attest to this. Next time you're in the grocery store, I might have raced some of you in here. You got your shopping cart and you just kind of go and you bump into them. They give you this look like, what are you doing? So you want to race. I had one guy looks at me and goes, I'm like, you're a cheater. Yeah, he's like, you didn't say go, so he just took off. I love doing this kind of stuff all over, wherever I go. I like to embarrass people, mostly my wife. fun. Like, anybody in here dance in the grocery store? Some of you guys are like, okay. So sometimes the music will be on and I'll just be standing there all of a sudden. You know, and my wife's going, I don't know, you know, I don't know at all. And I really like embarrassing her everywhere I go. She came into the back, yeah, amen, woo. So she came into the back, and you were probably there, what, I don't know, 5-10 seconds, and I already embarrassed her. My job is done. Thank you guys. So, I have tattoos, obviously. I'm not ashamed of my faith. So I've got cross tattoos and stuff on me, and I believe in God, and I don't know what your beliefs are, and that's okay. But I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. It was a cold, dark night in December. And all of a sudden, it was really dark and damp. And there was a light. No, just kidding. That's way far back. So, I like to go out. I like to go. I'm super embarrassed now. Yes. Straight out of Compton. I really enjoy like night walks. Anybody like going on walks and stuff? I love nighttime walks. It's cool, it's calm, there's not anybody driving around in their Hondas and most of the time. But so a couple months ago, it was cold out, so I have a weighted vest I like to wear. It's like 20 some pounds. So I throw that on, and I threw a sweater on, and I throw my headlamp on because it's dark, you know, you want people to be able to see you. Well, I go cruising on down where we live. I walk all the way down to a grocery store, and I get a water, and then I walk all the way back up, and I finish my walk. It's usually about 45 minutes to an hour. And I go down there, and I talk to this kid every once in a while. He's from Arizona. He's a younger kid. And I walk in there, and I've got my hood on and everything, you know, and it's cold out, so everything's covered, all my tattoos and stuff. And he looks at me and goes, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" I'm thinking to myself, like, all my tattoos are covered. We only have conversations about certain things. Like, how does he know this? So I asked him, I'm like, so what gave it away? He goes, with a dead face, "Your headlamp." I'm like, okay, like, let's run through this. Let's run through your thought process of this. Like, my headlamp, like, why would that give it away? And he goes, "Well, because you're rich." I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, okay, so you're saying I'm rich because I own a headlamp? He goes, "Yeah, they're expensive." I'm like, I paid like $40 for this thing. It's like not that expensive. And I was like, okay, so you're saying I'm rich because I have a headlamp, so that makes me a Christian? He goes, "Well, yeah. Like, what makes me rich to be able to?" He's like, "Well, I mean, you obviously have a job." And he's just digging himself deeper and deeper into this hole. And I'm like, so let's reframe all this. Okay, so I'm a Christian because I'm rich, I have a job and a headlamp? He's like, "Yeah, pretty much." I'm like, all right, man, I don't know about you, but that was a good guess. And come to think of it, I haven't seen him back since. Think I pushed him away? So, who in here has a significant other? Oh, everybody's single. I'm the only one. All right. If any of you guys' wives or spouses are just like mine, she loves the kind of man that can take care of business when it comes to it. They want to feel safe, right? Any women here love to feel safe around your man? It doesn't sound like it. Don't tell him he's next to me. Shh. Don't look at him, Steve. So, one night, so there's a series of nights, and I'm going to let you guys in on the first one. And I told my wife I'm going to tell this story, and this is what embarrassed her really bad. So we've got two kids, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. Well, where we live, we have animals that get into trash. Raccoons. Raccoons can be vicious sometimes. I think my wife has it in her head that raccoons will jump out of the dark and attack you. Like a mugger in New York. So, I was sitting on the couch, our youngest one was in bed, and I watch her walk by the window. All of a sudden, I hear this door flings open, she shoves our oldest daughter in. She's like, oh, falls on the ground. She jumps in, slams the door. What happened? Like, I'm like, somebody following you? What's going on? She's like, I think there's a raccoon outside. So you shove our daughter down because there's a raccoon, because it's gonna attack me. Oh boy. Okay. About a month later, the raccoons were back. I'm like, dang it. Okay, we just put the kids to bed. We don't want to hear this racket. So we both do martial arts, and so I go in and grab this stick. It's called an eskrima stick. It's about this long. And I go out there, and I'm like, I'm just in my high water sweatpants my wife hates. She's like, throw them away. I'm like, I've had them forever. And I go out there with the stick, smack the trash can, and I hear it run away. Well, we got a canal right there by the road, or a little ravine, and I'm like, okay, I wonder if it's gone. So I go inside, do what every man would do, and I grab a gun. It's a BB gun. Little pink BB gun, that's my daughter's. I throw a shirt on, and I throw my Jesus headlamp on, and I pump it 8 times, and I'm like, oh, hey, it ain't getting away. And I walk out there, walk into the living room, and my wife goes, oh, big man, you're gonna kill it, huh? I was like, don't judge me. So I walk outside, it's cold, you see my breath. I'm out there. And I get to me thinking like, is it like my wife is gonna jump out and attack me? So I look underneath the truck, I walk in, look under the razor, I'm like, okay, this thing's gonna attack me. All of a sudden there I am, like, yeah. My wife opens the door. Did you get it? I'm like, you're in there making fun of me, now you ask me if I got it. I didn't. Got a can though. It's the only thing I seen. Well, I'll tell you guys what, you guys have been an awesome crowd tonight. And thank you for letting me come up here and share my first experience with you guys. It's been a blast. I've had so much fun up here. And it's really cool because Mona and I were talking in the back, and then she's like, I'm not going to say that about you. And then she comes out here and says it about me. So guess what I'm going to tell her? Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell them everything. Oh, everything. So there was this once. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome back Mona.
Awesome. I'm so excited about our next comedian because she's amazing and she's getting ready to actually start filming a reality show on Animal Planet. And we're excited about this because of COVID, she became a cat lady. It's true, that's what she told me. So, we named her show. I got to name the show. I'm excited about it. It's not a real show, people. I'm joking. These are jokes here, right? But she is going to be the star of the next Animal Planet reality show, 8 Counts. 8 Counts. 8 Cats and Counting. Melinda Parker Brown.
Thank you all for coming and supporting them. It's a very important organization in our community. And so they asked me to do a piece on mental instability, which that's easy for me. So I prepared a document for Kevin Barkley, the executive director of NAMI, to sign before I was willing to come up here. And basically what I'm asking him to do is not have a straitjacket or a car available for me to take me over to Mine Springs when I exit the stage. So, COVID. COVID showed us a lot about ourselves, right? I mean, some of you worked at home and you loved it, right? Working our jammies, ordering stuff online, right? I kept talking to people and they're like, we don't want to go back to the office. The office is so people-y. Statistics show us that those people got 25% more accomplished working at home than in the office. I'm not one of those people. So I actually feed on the energy of other people, right? So they've asked me to come and share a few of the apparent inappropriate responses I had to all the solitude of last year. So, it's true, we started COVID. I had one dog, a Chihuahua, 2 cats. The dog was old, he died. It was really sad. The cats apparently ran off, or somebody lonelier than me hid them in their house. So, COVID's over, I got a new dog and 8 cats. You know, I'm really just a beginner cat lady. I mean, doesn't it take 20 or 30 to really become a cat lady? And I am married. So we started the year, I thought, I need a cat. I need a cat. They're so cute. They're independent. They take care of themselves, right? Self-washing. So I don't have one that color, so let's get that one. I only have 2 of that color, so let's get that one. So now I've got 21 veterinary appointments in the next 30 days. Spays, neuters, vaccinations. I got 6 litter boxes. I got a guest bathroom that smells like, well, you know what it smells like. And I got cat fur everywhere. I guess I'm living the cat lady dream. What I really missed in COVID was hugs. Just good old-fashioned touch. You know, didn't you miss it? I just missed it. And months went by. I'm working at home, right? Ordering stuff, working in my pajamas, with no one else around, right? And then one day, I got the hug. It was awesome. It was glorious. It was warm. It was a long embrace. You know, the kind that, if you didn't know the person really well, might be awkward. Who knew the UPS lady could run so fast as soon as I let go? And then there was Zoom meetings. I hate Zoom meetings. They take so much work. So my stepdaughters, they taught me how to get a good selfie. It's all about the angle. You gotta hold that camera up right at the right angle, right? And you wanna freshen your lips and fluff your hair between pictures so they all look good, right? That's what the millennials have taught me. So I took that principles to Zoom. So I have a telemedical appointment with my doctor. I just need a prescription refilled. And so I go to work that day, take off my pajama top, not the bottoms, because I love my kitty cat bottoms. Do my hair, put my face on, lipstick, the whole thing, and then I've got to find the setting, right? You got to have a great background. Can't be cluttered. It's got to be great. So I'm walking all over the house looking for a shelf, something I can put the phone on, right? I find a window sill real high. And then I realize I'm too short to be in the picture. So I stack a bunch of books up real precariously on a chair, climb up there, and I'm all ready for the doctor's appointment when she calls, right? Did you know that there's a little box in the corner of your picture on the screen when you Zoom meeting? It's real hard to look at the doctor when you can see yourself in the mirror. So I'm fluffing and moistening my lips, and I looked really fabulous, and I had a hard time remembering that she was looking at me. I didn't get a prescription, but I did get a referral over to Mine Springs. I have one client who loves a Zoom meeting now. Matter of fact, she doesn't want to talk on the phone. She only calls me just to say, can we Zoom? So she calls this morning. I'm not ready. It takes a lot of work. So I said to her, I'm doing research. She says, research? I said, yeah, research. I'm researching reward-based behavior modification of juvenile participants. She says, okay. She seemed appeased at my excuse, so we hang up the phone. I turn back to my dog, my puppy, hand him a treat, and continue to teach him to sit. You guys make me nervous. And I need my reading glasses. Okay, so I have asthma. And it makes me cough when I first get in an asthmatic situation. And all I have to do is reach into my purse, pull out my inhaler, take a couple breaths off the inhaler, and everything's good, right? No big deal. So one day I'm in Sprouts, and if you know the Sprouts here, all the shelves are kind of low. You can see everyone in the store from pretty much anywhere in the store, right? So I'm in the produce department, and I can feel asthma coming on. So a single cough slips out of my lips. I look up, it's like a part of the Red Sea. Everybody in the store, close to me and far away, is simultaneously moving away from the woman who's coughed. I have a split decision to make right then and there. I either reach in my handbag, pull out my inhaler, or I just continue shopping like a boss with my expert level social distancing. Probably the most painful part of COVID for me came early on as we were going through the months of COVID, and I decided to try to really get into the spirit of working from home. So I climb in the shower one morning, pull up the towel off the rack, dry myself off, wrap the towel around my head, and head to the dining room table. That's where my laptop is and my cell phone. So I get to the table. It's about opening time for business, 9 o'clock, and the phone rings. It's a sales rep from KJCT. He calls, he wants to discuss the advertising campaign that we're running. And I talk to him, hang up the phone, lay it on the table right next to the cell phone, right next to the computer. I'm answering emails, and so suddenly I saw a little motion. I looked down at my cell phone. My boob is on FaceTime. I hear, hello, hello. I'm poking buttons as fast as I can, trying to hang up that damn phone. If you'd have told my 25-year-old pre-baby body that one day my boob would reach out and FaceTime someone, well, I just wouldn't believe you, but it happened. That's my time. Thanks, guys. Woo, this is getting fun. I'm glad you're not mine back there. It's not as PG as it is on here. I'm just kidding. So I'm excited about our next comedian because he was here 2 years ago. He was dynamic, got a standing ovation, and I know you guys are going to absolutely love him. How many of you remember Copper Tone? Yeah. So Copper Tone has Wilson's disease. He's a survivor of Wilson's disease. He's been performing stand-up for the last 6 years. He is the shakiest guy you know. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Copper Tone.
Everyone, you know, honestly, I don't like holding on to a mic because I'm afraid I can bust my teeth out. So as you can see, I got the red mohawk. I wanted to look like a rooster puck canter. Do we have any weed smokers in here? I love the living in Colorado. Every time I go out, people like, have you tried weed? It might help. I don't know. They go, would you like to try some? Yes. I haven't had to go to the dispensary in 3 years. Yeah, I got in an argument with my dad the other day. He's like, I really wish you got the pipe. I go, Dad, I can't roll joints. I tried CBD once, and it did help a little bit. But the last batch of CBD I got, they mixed a little bit too much THC in my CBD, so I got high. I'm funny when I'm high. It's just really hard to tell jokes with my mouth full of Oreos. So, I figure if I get stuck, I can just stand up here and do this. It's just minor brain damage. I was diagnosed with Wilson's disease at the age of 25 after going into liver failure. Wilson's disease is copper poisoning. I told the doctors, if I ever have to have a liver transplant, I want that frickin' thing back. I may not be $1 million man, but I'm worth a pretty penny. I hate doing this. I apologize. So I wanted to tell you guys some of my pickup lines. During the winter when it's cold, maybe you guys can use these. During the winter when it's cold, when women ask me if I'm cold, I say yes. Will you know me please? The other day I went to a coffee shop. I saw this really cute girl there. I asked her out to dinner. She goes, sorry, I have a boyfriend. And I tell her, well, don't you want to shake it up a bit? My beautiful assistant with my props. Thank you. So I often walk around with my headphones on, just so people think I'm rocking out to something. I'm really into techno now. So my physical therapist gave me a shake weight. He thought it'd be funny. It was all fun and games until I broke it. So women should love me now, but they don't. They don't realize I get the best parking. Yeah, and I sit down and go pee, because I don't want to clean up the mess. So you know what sucks? Is it getting older? Yeah, I'm starting to have the hair grow out everywhere. Yeah, I went to pluck my nose hairs the other day, and my eyebrows came out crooked. So would you all like to hear the weirdest symptom of my disease? I can't smell skunk or flatulence. So if you guys need to pass gas, go right ahead. It won't bother me one bit. Yeah, I tried online dating, but it sucks. All my pictures come out crooked. So, I want to tell you a story about the first time I ever got stared at. I I was sitting down in a restaurant, attempting to eat lunch, attempting to meet the key word. And this large black woman just stared at me. She just couldn't take her eyes off me. Well, who can blame her? Look at this. So this is my aunt. My aunt tells me I should go up and tell her I made great scrambled eggs. So we're dating now. I have to say, Oprah is as nice in person as she makes herself out to be on TV. So I'm going to tell you my personal story about my problem with mental health. I made this shirt up because I got really tired of everybody staring at me. So I figured if they're going to stare at me, you might as well stare at my ass. The shirts are for sale out in the lobby. 10% of the proceeds are going to NAMI, just so you all know. But my personal story is the diseases that never bothered me, but realizing that I was no longer able to work to support myself really got to me. So I attempted suicide. After going to liver failure, I took a whole bottle of aspirin and went out and sat in my Jeep. But my parents were going through divorce at the time. My mom didn't really talk to my dad. She actually called up my dad that morning and said, "You should probably go check on Stan." By the way, Stanley is my real name. So my dad went and checked the house, walked all the way through the house, couldn't find me. He was walking back out to his truck, and he found me in the front seat of my Jeep. And I thank God for that, because if my parents didn't talk that morning, I want to be here doing what I love now. So, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to take a seat. I've been falling down a lot lately. I actually fell down at a show the other day. I have to say it was quite a trip. So every winter, I love volunteering for the Salvation Army. They love me there. People actually pay me to put the bell down. I had shorts income for them for the last 3 years. So I was trying to think about jobs I could do. I thought I'd make a great bobblehead salesman. Or maybe work at Home Depot in the paint department. Yeah, I asked for a job here as a bartender. As long as you want your drink shaken, not served. Don't order a beer because I'm not opening it. Unless you like the head. But I did get a job once in sign language, translating in sign language. But I got fired for stuttering. So I often get told that I'm too agreeable. I can't understand why. Is that for free? Well, I'm gonna have to go check. That guy said it was for free. So anybody else feel that this Me Too movement has gone way too far? I do. I can't even walk through a crowd anymore. Sorry, ma'am, I didn't mean to slap your ass. Yeah, 4 charges pending. Only one of them legitimate. She had a really nice ass. So I never claimed to be a doctor, but I diagnosed myself with ADHD. It seems like how I always have to be moving. So, anybody else get tired of COVID? I mean, I got so lonely, I can't wait for the Mormons to come around again. So anybody else have problems finding toilet paper? Yeah, I did. So I had to ration the last little bit that I had, 1 chunk at a time. I hate to say it, but it was like 3-year-old finger painting down there. Well, I think that's about my time. I can't really tell. So thank you all.
Give it up for Papa Tom! And buy a t-shirt. But we're all gonna have to walk around backwards. I'm getting a shirt. I'm so excited too. Our last and final headliner, comedian extraordinaire. This man literally wrote for Jay Leno for 20 years on The Tonight Show. And he's done full-time comedian, speaker for 35 years. How many of you remember Star Search with Ed McMahon? That should be all of you, because y'all all did the plop, plop, fizz, fizz thing. So I know y'all remember Star Search. And our next comedian, he lost on that, you guys, to a puppet. True story. The ventriloquist is no longer working, the puppet is. That's what I was told. I want you to put your hands together and give him the biggest Grand Junction welcome. He scared me. Okay. Frank King, everybody. Frank King.
I heard somebody say he's wearing no socks. That is correct. Matching underwear. Just making sure you're paying attention. I've made some old age discoveries. I'm 64 and a half years old. I've lost some hair. Can you see this? You might know the medical term for this. It's hair peninsula. It's a little bit like Florida, doesn't it? The vein running down to like Interstate 95. You know my biggest fear in life is it's going to break off and just be a little hair out. I have to take my brush and make a little bridge out of it. Windy days be a drawbridge. 64 and a half years old, just had my annual physical. My doctor says I'm fine. However, he put me on what's called a high fiber diet. Are you familiar? Which is fine. However, back home in Eugene, Oregon, I have a low flow toilet. Are you feeling me, middle agers? Every morning it's a gamble. It's like playing putty poker. I'm down there on my hands and knees on the cold tile praying for a straight flush. Come on. Daddy needs low LDLs. Come on. 64 and a half years old, been doing stand-up comedy and speaking 35 years, which means I have at least one, ex-wife. It's an occupational hazard. She was my high school sweetheart, my college sweetheart. We got married. We shouldn't have. We had absolutely nothing in common. But you know what they say? I'm sure you've heard this, opposites. Yeah, she was pregnant. I wasn't. I do mostly conventions these days, and every industry has a favorite joke. I did the North Dakota Grain Dealers Association. Oh, you're here from North Dakota? Really? Yeah. Who's watching the state? Oh man, have you been to North Dakota? A little heavily Caucasian. I had trouble finding black licorice. Oh man, and I said that in North Dakota to the group. The meeting planner was pissed. As my mama would say, she had a fit and fell in it. She comes up, it's King. We have people here in North Dakota of mixed race. I said, yes ma'am, Anglos and Saxons. The North Dakota grain dealer's favorite joke is this. There's a guy working the combine, it's hard to see wheat. Has an accident, gets his right arm cut off. That's the bad news. Good news is the doctor's actually able to reattach it. Sees a friend of his downtown a couple of weeks later, the guy just did it. I heard you got your arm cut off in the combine accident, but the doc showed it back home. How'd the operation turn out? Great! I did a group of ophthalmologists and optometrists. Their favorite joke. Here's my impression of an ophthalmologist or an optometrist making love. How's that? How about that? Better? Worse? Better? You've never worn glasses, ask somebody. Anybody here a funeral director? Anybody a mortician funeral director? I did the Selected Independent Funeral Homes. Yeah. Oh man, the darkest sense of humor. They called me up. They said, Frank, you're doing a motivation speech for morticians. What do you call it? I was kidding. I said, I call it thinking inside the box. They liked it so much I had to call it that. Here's their favorite joke. You know what the most difficult thing about being a mortician is? Trying to look sad at a $35,000 funeral. That's just wrong. I also have done cruise ships. Do you guys know this? The longer the cruise, the older the passenger. The longer the cruise, older the passenger. The last cruise I did before everything went to hell in a handbasket. I did 10 days on a 115-day world cruise. 115 days. We're talking old people and their parents. Every night, same thing for dessert. Oxygen. Oh yeah, none of that helicopters coming to go over that boat like bees from a hive. Heard it once, heard half a dozen times. Clear! They're showing a theater like this. Packed. I called my wife at the port. I said, honey, there was so much white hair in that theater, it looked like a Q-tip convention. Darling, wonderful people. A little old lady comes up to me after the show. This happens all the time on the cruise ship. She goes, do you want to hear a favorite joke at the senior center? I go, oh yeah, Grandma, I live for this. I said, sure. She goes, okay, there's a little old lady standing at the front of the room at the senior center. She's got her fist balled up like this. Says, the gentlemen who are gathered, if any of you boys guess what's in my hand, well, I'll spend the night with you. After about 30 seconds, an old guy in the back yells out, it's an elephant. She goes, close enough. So I'm on the 115-day world cruise. I told the joke about the funeral directors. I asked if there were any morticians in the audience. A guy in the balcony raised his hand. I said, what is your name, sir? He says, Musgrove. I said, M-U-S-G-R-O-V-E. He goes, that's me. I said, Mr. Musgrove, coincidentally, there's a half a dozen mortuaries in the Eugene, Oregon area by that name. He goes, those are mine. I said, well, tell me, what's a mortician doing on a 115-day world cruise? He stands up and goes like this. Inventory. People all the time ask me if my wife is fine. I'll let you guys do the joke. One of the things I like about cruising is all the downtime. When you're at sea, you know, you're not going to be in port that day, so I like to pop up in my bunk first thing in the morning, pot of coffee, iPhone, write jokes. That's my creative time of day. So I popped up one morning, I'm writing a joke, and it was good. I'm like, yeah, it didn't really fit my act. However, comedians buy jokes of other comedians. So I emailed it to a friend of mine that I thought would buy it. Email comes screaming back, I'll buy that, man, it's fabulous. I'll give you $100 for it. Yes. So when I got to the port that day, I called my wife. I said, honey, you're not going to believe this. This morning, I made $100 lying flat on my back in bed. Long pause. She goes, what a coincidence. Oh yeah. That's my lovely wife. It is nice to be here. I say that because I flew into Grand Junction on a commuter plane, so it's nice to be just about anywhere. I told Kevin I don't do small planes. He goes, no, the travel agent told me it's a big plane, big plane. It was a Boeing 7.7. You think I'm making that up? I'm standing in line behind the Weebles. I'm not going to worry about crashing. These boys wobble, but they never go down. The plane is so small, 12 seats. There's no drop from the overhead compartment oxygen mask. The flight attendant, bless her heart, she holds up a tank. She goes, we have one tank and one mask if anybody needs it. I said, excuse me, I'm the airhead. I'm no aeronautical expert, but I think if we need oxygen, all 12 of us are going to need it at roughly the same time. Hey man, quick Bogart the oxygen, pass it back. But the oxygen mask, here's where comedy comes from. Comedians ask themselves over and over all day long, what's wrong with this picture? The oxygen mask. I mean, it sounds like a good idea on the surface, but think about this. You know, you don't have the oxygen mask, you lose cabin pressure, you're going to pass out, whatever. But why would you lose cabin pressure? Because the plane's going down. Seems like a darn good time to be unconscious, doesn't it? No, man, keep those peanuts, hit me in the head. Well, can you actually picture yourself? You go, woo! Wake up! You're missing it! Woo! Oh. Now, do you guys know that I'm mentally ill? Did you know that? I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? No, I have two mental illnesses. Chronic, God, I can't get it right. Major depressive disorder and chronic suicidal ideation. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I believe my mental illness is simply the flip side of my comedic ability, imagination, creativity. I did a TEDx talk where I said to them, it's called Mental with Benefits. I said, look, I don't think I'm broken. I think I was made this way. Because I can teach you to write stand-up. I can teach you to perform stand-up. What I cannot teach you to do is process information the way my brain does. And I'll give you an example. I'm on a Delta flight out of Atlanta. Anybody from Delta? A lot of the flight attendants based there, very southern. And what's happened is, the day before, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, said, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can use it on takeoff or landing if it's in the airplane mode, yes. Well, the problem with that is, the flight attendant has that written down nowhere. There's no, it's not in the script. The pre-flight announcements, most of them can do it in their sleep. But this, she's going to have to improv. So I'm listening very closely to the announcements, which I never do. You know, the seat cushion and the floor path lighting and the oxygen mask. And she gets to the part where she's got to tell us about the iPhone and iPad. So she pauses. Then she says, ladies and gentlemen, due to the FAA regulation, you can almost hear her thinking. Then she gets inspired. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the FAA regulation, if you have small equipment, you can continue playing with it. I'm bent over double laughing. Nobody else on the plane. My seatmate thinks I've lost my mind. He goes, what? I go, let's review. Before I can review, she comes back on and goes, if you have large equipment, well, you're going to have to shove that under the seat in front of you. So I'm down on my knees. That's my mental illness, right? That's the way I process information. And I got to tell you, I don't know how many people here have mental illness, but those of us who do, every now and then you get tired. When somebody says, how are you? You want to tell them. You know, you get tired, living the dream, everything's fine. So one day I've done 2-3 hour suicide prevention CE speeches in the same day. I'm exhausted. I get in the Uber with a nice young man, and our eyes lock in the rearview mirror. And he says, of course, how you doing? I thought, I'm going to tell him. I said, I'm depressed and suicidal. What about you? He goes, well, what am I supposed to say to that? I said, do you really want to know? He goes, yeah. I said, you're supposed to ask me if I have a plan. So he thinks about that for a second. And then he goes, do you have a plan? And then it hits him. And he goes, does it involve Uber? That is brilliant. Man, I know comedians who don't write that well. Yeah, major depressive disorder, if you don't know, it's not situational. I've been most depressed at some of the best times in my life. It's really weird. You know, mortgage paid off, money in the bank, bookings, and just wretchedly depressed. And I always wondered what, it would be like if I was that depressed and things weren't going well, and I found out in April of 2010. The height of the recession, last recession, and business dropped off 80%, speaking business, and we lost everything in the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And that's when I learned what the barrel of my gun tasted like. Yeah. Spoiler alert, I did not pull the trigger. It's okay, well. Thank you. I'm pretty happy about it too. A friend of mine heard me speak, and he never heard me say that out loud. He came up afterwards and said this, and I quote, hey man, how come you didn't pull the trigger? Hey man, could you try to sound slightly less disappointed? I know, you're thinking, and I get, by the way, I get this a lot. A comedian talking about depression, thoughts of suicide, how does that work? Well, I think a comedian's a good choice, I'll tell you why. If you think about the world's first comedian, it was court jesters. And their job is to speak truth to power on behalf of the powerless. And I believe I speak truth to the power of mental illness on behalf of those often powerless in its grip with humor. And depression and suicide run in my family. It's called generational depression and suicide. My grandmother, my great aunt, my mother, and I came close. Yet everybody in my family is on one psychotropic medication or another. More nuts in my family than a squirrel turd. That's why I speak on it. It's my passion and my purpose, and it's what I do believe it's what I was born to do. And I've done I've done 5 TEDx talks, and I got a 6th one coming up June 7th. The 5th one I did was in Durango, Colorado. Yeah, my personal favorite, the only one I've ever gotten a standing ovation for. It's called Mental Health and the Orgasm. Treat your depression single-handedly. And I closed it with this, and this is how I got the standing ovation, and my wife hated this joke. She said, do not put that in there, it's awful. I said, it's going to kill them, I'm going to close with it. At the end of the thing, I went, okay, one last thing, kids. Do you know why they call it orgasm? Orgasm? They're all looking at me like, no. I said, because nobody gets spelled. I've been doing comedy a long time. I started in the started the day after Christmas in 1985. I was on the road for 2,629 nights in a row, nonstop. 7 years and change. Yeah, I divorced my first wife. I was dating a young lady. And I said, look, I'm going on the road to be a stand-up comedian. You want to come along for the ride? Figured she'd go, oh, hell no. She goes, yeah. So we quit our jobs, put everything in storage we couldn't fit into our tiny little Dodge Colt. Yeah, I know. And a roller skate with a motor. And went on the road and worked with and lived with, because back then they used to put comics up in something called a comedy condo, a 3-bedroom condo they would clean every week. So we worked and lived with Jeff Foxworthy and Ron White, Ellen and Rosie and Adam Sandler and Kevin James. And, yeah, I mean, on and on and on. Kevin James, and opened up for Lou Rawls, Beach Boys, Neil Sedaka, just back in the day. And had a ball, oh my Lord. The problem was the week-long clubs, like the one in Denver, Comedy, Yeah, Comedy. Those are great clubs, week-long clubs, But what held the tour together was the awful one-nighters. Beer bar, pool, all honky-tonk, drunk idiot screaming, tell us some jokes, we can dance too. Okay, here comes the slow one, you can slow dance. Oh man, I had a gun pull on me one night. And I'm doing my show. Well, here's why. It was Kingsport, Tennessee, or the Tri-Cities, Kingsport, Tri-City, Bristol. And I'm not saying everybody in Kingsport is a Bible thumping, race baiting, homophobic redneck who thinks the Holocaust is fake and wrestling is real. Just the people that came to my show. So, the comedian before me was a friend of mine named Pat Miller, and he's about 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, 300 pounds, just a darling guy. And they built a platform for the comedians to work on, so he'd be up a little bit so the audience, everybody could see us. Well, he's walking across the platform, and he steps, and a board breaks under his foot. I mean, bam! You can hear it all over the room. Best ad lib I've ever heard before since. He goes, nobody panic. It's just a stage I'm going through. They loved him, they hated me. So I can't see anything but the front row, the lights are my eyes, but I do see over the shoulder of the guy in the front row, the hand of the guy in the second row holding a nickel-plated .38 with a hammer back. So I turned sideways to make a smaller target. Lowered my elbow to cover my vital organs. Not my first goat broken, by the way. And I just waited. And I think this is pure East Tennessee. A woman in the back got tired of waiting. After about 90 seconds, she screamed this, either shoot him or put it away. So comedy's not all glitz and glamour. Comedy's a great sort of superpower every place except the airport. Yeah, I live in Eugene, Oregon, and it's kind of a small to medium-sized airport. And so they occasionally are understaffed. And they have two sets of the metal detectors. The old-fashioned one you walk through that's rectangular, and then the new giant one that's round, it's got big magnets in it. Well, did you know this? You can opt out of the giant one with the magnets that go around in the circle. But if you do, you get something extra. The enhanced pat-down. Yeah. Well, they were short-handed that day. It's supposed to be a man patting down a man and a woman patting down a woman. Okay, I'm standing there with my feet on the dance steps. My palms turned up like supposed to. This darling young woman steps in front of me, looks me right in the eyes. They've changed this speech, by the way, since then. She looked me right in the eyes and she said this, "Sir, are there any parts of your body more sensitive to touch than others?" Okay. Here's how a comedian thinks. I've heard two voices all my life. The devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. When she said, "Are any parts of your body more sensitive to touch than the others?" I heard, "Sit." You're getting arrested. Did you know that? It's against the law to crack a joke at a security checkpoint. And it's not a misdemeanor, it's a felony. Trust me on this. I only did it one more time. I'm insane. It's like baseball. If it's a fastball in the middle of the strike zone, there's no way you're not swinging it. I'm in San Diego. I forgot to take my little tiny tube of toothpaste out of my knapsack and put it in the quart-size Ziploc bag. So it goes through, of course, the TSA guy sees it on the screen. He grabs it, my bag, he pulls the little tube of toothpaste out of the bag, and he goes, "What's this?" Say it. You're going to Guantanamo. I'm not sure what the correct answer is. I do know the incorrect response. When he opened up and said, "What's this?" I said, "Plutonium?" Did you guys know that most airports have a basement? Fully stocked with FBI agents around the clock. Do I need to tell you that I missed that flight? That's bad news. Good news is, turns out my prostate's fine. So, part of the Affordable Care Act, I'll tell you about. I love doing conventions, and I love doing conventions where I know nothing about what's going on. I did the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society, BASS. Anybody here fish for bass? I know. You fish for bass, young lady? Really? Yeah, I mean, there were tens of thousands of people there. It's a multi-billion-dollar business in the U.S. I had no idea. So I'm there, and everything is brand new. At the Vendor Showcase Exhibit Hall, they've got a convention brochure. On the cover, 22-foot Ranger bass boat. Gorgeous. On the back end of it is what appears to be a 225 horsepower Mercury engine. The boat is some sort of high-end fiberglass thing. It weighs an ounce. And it's got this honking 225 horses on the back. So I held it up that night. I said, "That's a good looking boat. Is that really 225 horses on the back end of that thing?" They're all nodding yes. I go, "Well, tell me something, because I don't know. Just exactly how fast are these fish?" I said, "We're talking 70 or 80 miles an hour. Fish, you could chase down a freaking cheetah." "I know, Rob, some kind of bass boat. Run!" The president of Bass is in the mountain, stands up and yells this: "You got to get to where the fish is." My mother was an English teacher. It was all I could do. Say it. Get paid. It's all I could do not to yell back. "Well, I don't know where the is, but I'm guessing it's not English class." I did a deer hunting. I'm from North Carolina. Anybody here from North Carolina? Anybody? I know Mona's from the South. Anybody here? Oh, and Mona, I love the South. I'll tell you what. We have an expression down South. Bless his heart, bless her heart. Yeah. It's a Southern disclaimer. You can say anything you want about anybody you want as long as you follow it with, bless his heart. "Oh, honey, he's dumb as a bag of hammers, bless his heart. She's as ugly as homemade soap." Do you know Earl Pauline's boy Earl, dope smoking, drug dealing, toad licking, mobile home building, redneck, bless his heart? Well, his sister Earlene, she's not loose. She's just user-friendly, bless her heart. Do you guys have a Waffle House here? Oh, man, too bad. I got a great tip. If you've never been to the Waffle House, go. Down south, it's an icon. It's worth a visit. Okay, now where was I? Waffle House, thank you so much. Oh, the deer hunting. I was living in North Carolina, working at a radio station. Oh, I had a radio job for about 18 months. Morning show. Yep, I took a #1 morning show and I drove it to #6 in 18 months. A friend of mine said, "You didn't just drive it in the ground, son, you drove it in the middle earth." Yeah. I haven't got time. I'd love to tell you why I got fired. But, well, I'll tell you, I had a segment on my show called Too Stupid to Live. It's not about people who deserve to die. It's about people when you meet them, you wonder how they've lived as long as they have. I'm sure you met people. Like 2 guys in Indianapolis last month tried to rob a gun store at knife point. Well, I need to tell you how that came out. And it wasn't just any gun store. The place was called 1,000 Guns. What are the odds the owner's packing a couple? I'll tell you the third story in the series that actually got me fired. I was doing a morning show, and I was responsible for 12 solid minutes of family-friendly comedy every morning. That's a lot of comedy. So I was constantly looking around for comedy. And I'm pumping gas at the Texaco station. There's a Star Mart, convenience store in the middle, gas pump. Pumping gas, looking for comedy, and right there on top of the pump, in a frame, another frame, is an advertisement for a Texaco credit card. They took a regular size credit card, they blew it up photographically. So it looks exactly like the real thing. Color scheme, name, number, except in the lower right-hand corner, if you look very closely, it says not negotiable. Okay, here's my feeling on this, although you didn't know. If you can get the clerk to accept a 3-foot by 2-foot cardboard credit card replica, you deserve the gas for free. So, sensing comedy, I popped it out of the frame, put it behind my back, walked inside. The guy goes, $15 for the premium unleaded. I said, yeah, well, put her on this. To my surprise and delight, he picked it up. He's looking it over. I'm thinking, son of a gun, he's going to take it. 6-pack bigger, bag of Doritos, quart of oil. After about 30 seconds, he goes, hey, I can't take this. As if there was ever any doubt. It gets better. I can't take this, Mr. Doe. I said, no, I shop here all the time. You can call me John. He goes, well, I can't take this, John. I go, why not? He goes, look here, it's expired. Anyway. So, in North Carolina, they have something called the North Carolina Wildlife Club. It's for deer hunting. It's like Ducks Unlimited, only for deer. And I'm there, they hired me, the vegetarian, to speak to the deer hunting club. Well, I'm at the cocktail party before the presentation, and I kept hearing this phrase, the sport of deer hunting, the sport. See, when I was a kid in North Carolina, deer hunting was an outdoor recreational activity. At some point in time, it morphed into a sport. So I said to them when I came on stage that night, you guys really think deer hunting is a sport? They're all nodding yes. I go, well, okay, I'll bite. Name me one other sport where your opponent has no idea he's playing. I mean, till the opening gun goes off, the deer has no idea he won the coin toss and elected to receive. It's 0-1 before he knew what it is. Okay, now, something else has changed in the intervening years. When I was a kid in North Carolina, you did not have to wear orange to go hunting. Now in North Carolina, you have to wear X number of square inches of orange. And I know exactly why. However, I thought I would pose the question and hope for the best answer, this answer I was looking for. Why do you have to wear orange? A guy in the back yells out, so another hunter will not mistake you for a deer. I said, so let me get this straight. Here in North Carolina, we're selling guns and ammunition to human beings who cannot distinguish other human beings from deer. I said, forgive me, but couldn't we clear it up with something as simple as, I don't know, a leg count? I said, here's my philosophy. If you find me in the woods on all fours, shoot me. I said, we don't need a background check when you buy a gun. We need an IQ test. I said, I got an idea. We'll do it like the cops. We'll do a photo lineup, a bunch of deer and a guy. I'll make it easy. Famous deer. Dasher, Prancer. You can't pick out that guy. No gun for you, Albert. Now, if you hunt deer, you know, every year in the United States, somebody mistakes another somebody for a deer and plugs them. Yep, last year, October, outside Atlanta, guy got shot. Fortunately, he just got winged, a couple of stitches, he's fine. But you know where he was when he got shot? He lived out in the country. He's out in the backyard and pruning a tree. Yeah, I just wish as a comedian I could have been in the woods with the two guys hunting right before the one guy pulled the trigger, simply to hear the conversation that led up to it. Hey, Bub. What? I think I see a deer. Where? On that ladder. What the hell is he doing? Looks like yard work. Okay, there's one other thing that's different nowadays. I was working on a Holland America ship, and I met a woman from Tennessee whose son produces a product. He hired scientists to duplicate the chemical that female deer give off when they're in heat. He put an aerosol spray can, which is why I love America. We got no cure for cancer, but we got deer, wee, and aerosol king. It says on the can, attracts the buck, which, by the way, it does. What it does not say, what I think should be a federally mandated warning on each and every can, caution, this is a concentrate. It will not only attract the buck, it will send him into a romantic frenzy. I've never used it, but if you're a deer hunter, correct me if I'm wrong. The idea is you spray this stuff around where you're waiting on the deer, and then hope to God you kill him with the first shot. And so I got news for you. If I miss, I'm using that second round on myself. I don't think after Rudolph with the face full of this aphrodisiac, he's going to take no for an answer. I don't think the buck stops here. I don't think. Well, I've got a little slideshow to finish out my portion of the evening's festivities. I believe we have a slide screen. I say I have a slideshow. I'm thinking about doing a slideshow. Here we go. Well, here's what happened. When I went on the road back in December of '85, here it comes. Yeah, usually getting down is the hard part. Getting it up is not so. You're right, I'm 64. Oh man, every now and then, my comedy gets me in trouble or potential trouble. Can you bring the lights back up at the segment? I'm in, there he is. And you know what I forgot to get was a clicker. So, Ben, are you operating the machine, Ben? Okay, well don't get ahead of me now. I'll call your name and I want you to move forward. What I did when I went on the road to do comedy, I got one of those little box cameras with the disposable one. I started taking pictures of funny road signs. For some strange reason, I thought it'd be fun to have a little travel log. And so 90% of what I'm going to show you are photographs I took myself. 10% from the web, but 90% of these are mine. And that's back when I had more hair. And all right, Ben, click it for me. Oh yeah, people ask about my first performance. That's me in high school. Yeah, at the senior talent show, and I won. Why I'm dressed like a Waffle House manager, I have no idea. Yeah, I really had hair. And Ben, oh, that's the selected. That's the first slide in that show for the funeral director. Now, when I do one of these like this, I try to find slides in my collection that fit the theme. So I got some funeral home, cemetery, anyway. Ben? Historic Life Saving Station Cemetery. Apparently not everybody makes it. Ben? We have 2 cemeteries, no hospital, drive careful. Ben? Cemetery again. Now, you may have seen that on the web, but I took that photograph in Wichita, Kansas in 1989. That's mine. And then, oh, I love epitaph. Look at this. Ma loves Pa, Pa loves women, Ma caught Pa to win swimming. You guys know what this is? Dead man's hand. Now, Ben, don't get ahead of me. Yeah, go ahead, Ben. This is classic. I told you I was sick. When I go to a town and I have time, I go to the cemetery and see if I can't find some funny epitaphs. And I was down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, And I had time to go to the cemetery. I went to the city cemetery, and they're all in Spanish, so I did the translations. And anyway, here we go. Good? Tomas Chinchilla, rest in peace. Now you're in the Lord's arms. Lord, watch your mouth. Then, Gustavo Guzman, rest in peace. In memory from all your sons except Ricardo, who didn't pay any money. And my favorite, man. Pancracio Vinales. He was a good husband, a wonderful father, but a bad electrician. Then, Budget Fuel Service. Yeah. Budget Fuel Service. Grab them, bag them, burn them. Okay, Ben. Oh, I love this. Tragedy in Eastern Canada. Canada's air disaster occurred earlier today when a Cessna 152, a small two-seater plane, crashed into a cemetery early this morning in central Newfoundland. Newfie search and rescue workers have recovered 826 bodies. I expect that number to climb as digging continues. Oh, people ask you about wearing the cruises. This is my cabin in Holland, America. It's a little narrow, but notice window. I'm on the 9th deck, and so it's, yeah. Ben, this is the one. Go ahead, Ben. That's Cardinal, which is why I don't work them anymore, because that is actually a pole, and that's my TV behind it. So I watched TV like this for 3 weeks. Ben? Oh, there's a difference between the crowd on Carnival and the crowd on Holland America. This is Holland America. Those are muesli shooters. Muesli. Shoot, I got some older woman standing next to me. What do you say we do a couple of these and a couple shots of prune juice and really get crazy? She had a walker. I'm like, come on, Grandma, move the hardware. Let's get. Then, oh, the Prince and Dale. This is Holland America doesn't own this ship anymore. It was my favorite. It was a smaller ship, and a lot of ships nowadays have a cover with a pool, but this one was open to the sky. It was a nice day like this when a thunderstorm rolled up. And I mean, the rain came down in buckets, as we say down south of frog stranglers. And what happened was the scuppers, the downspouts around the pool were jammed up with paint chippings because they've been working around the pool. And so the water rose to a foot deep around the pool. Well, that's not a big problem, except the front elevator lobby, the lip on the door is 11 inches. So when somebody, as my mama would say, in their infinite wisdom, opened the door, the water goes through and it's going down the stairs like a waterfall. Okay, I'm coming up the stairs and wearing my gym clothes. Here's what you don't know about me. No matter where I am or how I'm dressed, people think I work there. I'm telling you, I could be standing in a jewelry store wearing a football helmet, a jock strap, and cowboy boots. Somebody would come up to me and go, you work there? Yeah, man, it's Casual Friday. How can I help you? So I'm walking up the steps. There's an older gentleman walking next to me. He grabs my arm. And he goes, you work here? Sorta. I go, why do you want to know? He goes, I'm terrified. I said, why are you terrified? He goes, there's water coming down the stairs. I said, look, I don't know a lot about cruise ships, but I do know this. Water coming down the stairs? Not a big deal. Water going up the stairs. You and me are going to find Rose and a piece of lumber, and we're out of it. Ben? Oh, lawn darts. It's amazing to me that baby boomers, it's amazing to me I'm alive. These are the kind of toys we had when we were kids. Did you know you cannot buy these anymore? It's like horseshoes with a body count. If you want to be an only child and have Christmas to yourself, just grab a lawn dart, tell your little brother or sister to go long. I'm telling you. My sister had the original Easy Bake Oven. Yeah, and it wasn't a little twisty bulb. It was like a 2,000-3,000 watt incandescent bulb. It was like a children's Chernobyl. I remember on Christmas morning she plugged it in and the house lights went dim. I love the commercial for the old Easy Bake. It gets hot enough to bake a cake. Are you kidding me? This thing gets hot enough to smelt iron ore. Let's bake a one-layer white cake. Okay, man. That's my girl Chelsea. She's our first German Shepherd. And she was something, she looks really sweet right there. She's a German family, Shih Tzu trained, and she saved my wife's life a couple times. The one that I find most amusing is, we were living in Grass Valley, California. My wife was walking down a canyon behind the house, and turns around, she's coming back. And she heard something coming down the hill behind her, and she turns and looks, it's a mountain lion. My wife is a blonde, and she tells the story this way. She goes, when she saw the mountain lion, her first thought was actually, wow, that golden retriever looks just like a mountain lion. Yeah. Chelsea, being something of a brunette, realized it was a mountain lion and chased it off. We have 3 German Shepherd rescues, and we have 11 cats. When you start rescuing cats, people find out. I got a cat in the driveway. Can you come over and bring your live trap and get him? I'm 10, 11, look at this. Okay, you guys want to know the upside of suicide? I have suicidality, chronic suicidality. Those 11 cats were in my house, and there was a wildfire a mile and a quarter away. I don't know if you've ever been involved in wildfire evacuation, but stage 1 is get ready, stage 2 is get set, stage 3 is go. Well, I went downtown 25 minutes away, stage 1, figured, you know, I have to go to stage 2, I'll be home in time. It went from stage 1 to stage 3. I'm looking at my iPhone, I can see the fires a mile and a quarter from my house. Well, we're like the Marine Corps, we don't leave anybody alone. So the neighborhood is evacuated. Everybody else is driving west, away from the fire. I'm driving east into the wildfire. And a friend of mine goes, you could have died. I go, I've been trying to do that for 40 years, man. Yeah. And if you're going to go, you might as well go doing something spectacular. How come we drove back into a wildfire? Safety. I mean, the SPCA would have built a statue to me. I made a video. I got all the cats into carriers. By the way, I have a whole new respect for the term herding cats. I shoved one in, 2 jump out, it's getting darker outside with the smoke. I made a video on the way out of the neighborhood because I wasn't sure I was going to make it out. You know, saying goodbye to everybody, told my wife I loved her. You know, well, honey, I love you. My sister, I love you. Your husband, well, I'm a comedian, so I put it up on YouTube in case I didn't make it. But I made it, the cats made it, the dogs made it. Anyway, we have 3 German Shepherd rescues, and this is our front gate. Ben? The 2 houses on either side of us have been robbed. Not ours. And here's the back gate. The dog has a gun and refuses to take his medication. Yeah. The UPS guy doesn't even slow down, he just throws it over. Ben? No, I love this. Your pets will love us, we shit you not. Ben? Oh. I've traveled all over the world, all 7 continents, including Antarctica twice, and then Carl Berglager helped ugly people have sex since 1864. That's a good one, by the way. Then, for restrooms, go back where you're behind. Then, oh, I love this. The best wishes, Suzanne. Underneath that, we will miss you. See what happened here? All right, look, I want a sheet cake, yep, chocolate cake, white icing, and I want very specific. I want, listen very closely. Here's what I want on it. Best wishes, Suzanne. Yep. Underneath that, yep. We will miss you. You're paying for the cake. Then, that's an Eastern organ. You know what's going on here? You guys have free range, raising in cotton. We have an organ as well. But, you know, it shouldn't be, you know, at the edge of a mountain. What I think is a waste of money is a sign. A, if you don't have a convertible, you're not going to see the cow coming. B, if you see the cow coming at this point, it's reached terminal velocity. Done. Fire up the barbecue, let's eat. Then, no, slow down. That's in Texas, so is this. Ben? If you've ever driven across the state of Texas, you know that needs to see. Ben? Oh, No trespassing violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. Ben, police station told us stolen cops have nothing to go on. Ben, Captain South Carolina is supposed to be a peach, but. Ben, this is in San Diego. We'll watch another movie to keep driving. So, this one's in San Diego too. Ben, they took it down, finally took it down. Cruise ship airport exit. He's coming over. Ben? Ben? Get your crabs here, clean restroom. That's the way the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Ben? Drop your pants here and you'll receive prompt attention. I think you drop your pants just about anywhere. Ben? Ben? Later that same day, Ben? Ben? Oh, Lost Lopser. It's a muscle opsa. Yeah, needs medication. You see him, you better, Ben. Be warned. Charlotte, North Carolina, danger. We ain't ran out of red paint reminded by valve. Ben? Fertilizer. Ben? Mail your package to UPMS. Not going to be there overnight and they're not happy about it. Then, UPMS firearms. Yeah. Then, this is from a friend of mine in England. Britain's Social Security system is not alone to perfection. South Carolina Social Service Department just sent a dead man this letter. Your food stamp will stop effective March 92. Because we received notice you passed away. May God bless you, you may reapply if there's a change in your certificate. All right, welcome back, Mr. Lazarus. And, Cheryl's in here to get gas. Then, diesel fried chicken. Look at the price of that. That's $19.90. Then, sweet daddies from the rooter to the tube. The menu says, I'm not making this up, everything but the oink and the tail. Ben, where's the other thinking barbecue? Today's special is also the pep of the week. Ben? Oh, I love these. I got several of these church signs. Don't let the person give me the church, yo. Ben? Walmart's not the only saving place. And I'll leave you with this one, Ben. Oh no, I take it back. Stop Sharp Gold does not work in hell. And one last one, Ben. Staying in bed shouting, oh God, does not constitute going to church. Thanks, Frank King. I'm going to thank you very much. You're on your way? Oh, you didn't know you were going to close the show, did you? That's okay. I'll close it up. All right, you guys have a good time? Well, thank you guys for coming out supporting NAMI. Hopefully we'll make this an annual event. I imagine we will. And if you enjoyed tonight's show, tell your friends. If you didn't like the show, we hope you have no friends.
Thank you.